Thanks for clicking on to Wayne.com to watch Inside the Zone alongside Blake Sebring, the team beat writer at the News Sentinel. I'm Glenn Marini. And Blake, in a lot of ways, if you just look at it on paper, you'd say, pretty good weekend for the Komets. But if you dive a little deeper, do a little more research, you'll notice that maybe not as, and I hate to be negative, but just not as beautiful a weekend as you might have thought.
Not as crisp as you would have hoped for.
Right.
Not as, it just, you lose to a Florida team, which is 1-6-2 in its last 9, and they basically push you all over the ice. I mean, they controlled the front of both nets very easily, really. I mean, they did for pretty much the last half of the game Friday night, and they took that into Saturday. And then yesterday, you need 52 shots to beat a last-place Evansville team that's already replaced their coach and got a whole new lineup. And
Toledo, was it not?
That's right, Evansville, Toledo. This is kind of the same deal, yeah.
Very similar, actually, this year. But when you take a look at the Toledo game, it was 2-2 until what, like 1:13, something like that.
Yeah, 1:04 left or something like that. Yeah, I mean, it was ridiculous.
On a positive note, the 52
they won.
The 52 shots. There have been times where they passed around the puck, and you're just sitting there and shoot it. Did they exemplify that?
They did, but what was it? Friday night when they scored 5 goals last week, they went to the net. They didn't go to the net yesterday. I mean, I didn't see that. They didn't get any deflections in front like they did Friday night, and they just didn't. And that's what they have to do to win, and they didn't really do it. They look tired to me, Glenn. They look like they're just, and that kind of should be a warning because they're going into 7 games in 10 days starting Wednesday, and they look tired. I mean, they don't look very crisp and very fresh right now.
Well, we've mentioned they've been a little bit more dinged up in the past couple of weeks as they've been a really healthy team as far as, the ECHL season goes early on, but perhaps some of those smaller injuries, nagging injuries, taking a little bit of their toll.
Oh, big time.
But this week is really critical because not only are we down to 12 games in the regular season, but you mentioned it's a tight stretch, 4 games in 5 days this week alone starting Wednesday night. If you're the Komets, how do you go into it? Because Friday's game, they had a bunch of new parts. They looked really good on Friday night, their first game of last week.
They looked like they had some emotion and
they
some
hit some
energy.
Juice.
Yes.
So how do they carry that over into this week, make the team we saw on Friday night the team we see every night?
I don't know. I think that's the hard part because I think there's a possibility Cayley may not play Wednesday night. He blocked a shot yesterday and he was out, and he's got some other injuries. And I thought Saturday night he was the one guy out there who was bringing some energy. And that'll be interesting to see. Usually he's the guy who gets that kind of stuff going. And if he's not there, they got to find it within themselves. And, it's so hard right now because you've got guys playing on new lines and new guys coming in and trying to, if they stick to the basics, it seems to work. When they try to get fancy, they get in trouble.
That brings me to my next point is the Komets by no means did they stand pat when the trading deadline came around. It was 4 o'clock on Thursday. A number of moves. We actually heard news that they got a player from Orlando. It was confirmed by Chuck Bailey in a press release. It seemed like it was absolute breaking news, but they did it. They finally got Aaron Clark.
And it wasn't Christmas either.
No. It took 3 odd months, but Aaron Clark comes in, Mitch Brewston.
And that's a good guy to get, too. I mean, right? Aaron Clark's like just watching what he does against the Komets, you're like, holy crap, that makes us twice as better. They get him, and then nobody else does either, Right. Because he just kills them.
Statistically, he seemed like a big get, but it's his 3rd ECHL team this season. Why, if he is that good, has he not found a more permanent home?
He was not in Toledo's plans for the future. And he wanted to play on a playoff team. And they basically granted his wish. I mean, he was a little bit of a deal, Toledo's out of it. And they got nothing to play for right now. And if you can help a guy who's helped you a little bit, why not, type of thing. Because that future considerations could be buying the team dinner on the way back here or something. It could be something like that for a road game. It could just be anything.
Bruneto, Brewston, Clark, collectively, what was the focus for the Komets?
They wanted to make the pronunciation guide a lot harder.
They certainly did. They succeeded in every single way. Nobody spells their name. No, they couldn't get a bunch of Brett Smiths or Joe Johnsons.
No.
But yeah, what did they collectively do at the trade deadline
Well,
to make this team better with those guys?
There was three things that they really wanted to do. They wanted to get bigger. They did that with Brewstein, who's can skate too. I mean, he's not the thickest guy in the world. He's tall. He's like 195, but he's pretty good about being around the net. They wanted to get another scoring winger forward, and they did that with Clark. And they wanted to get another defensive defenseman. Well, everybody was looking for the exact same things out there, so they went to the college ranks to get Bruneteau, who was a college captain, led his team in block shots and that kind of thing. So you don't know what you got there. And it's a pure gamble, but you take a shot. And that's kind of what they did.
So really they addressed their needs. Tried to address. They were headed in the right direction. They tried to address their major needs. And Brewston, 6'4", $195. You saw him on Friday night with the deflection up front.
That was pretty.
On the Maone shot. So can he really be a force for this team? Kind of like I don't want to say Ciro, but physically he makes some.
Can he make an impact? Yeah, I think he can. He had pretty decent numbers in Stockton, considering he started the year as an SPHL player. But he had legitimate numbers in Stockton, and that goal was legitimate Friday night. And he was doing a little bit of banging over the weekend, too. So we'll see. I mean, you just got to wait and see. Now, a lot of times guys are coming in after a deal like that. They're playing on adrenaline. And then a week later, they settle down. Now, let's see if he settles down or if he continues to bring it.
One of the things we saw this weekend that was kind of a flip of the script that we've seen all season long, goaltending.
Yeah.
We saw Meissner play very well at home.
Very well.
And then we saw Mack play well on the road.
Yeah, but again, he was giving up rebounds like crazy, which
well, they didn't go in the net though.
No. But I was really impressed with Meissner. I was really impressed. He looked like the guy who'd been playing on the road all year. I mean, where he's 10-1 or 9-1 now, and it's like, wow, that was it. He looked calm. He looked comfortable. He controlled the play. If there was a scrambling situation for the most part, except for the one power play goal or whatever Saturday night, he covered the puck. Let's get a face off and move on. He kind of helped out his defense quite a bit.
Do you feel like that they have substantiated themselves as far as a goaltending perspective goes, or is it just too week by week?
Well, they got no choice by now.
Right.
I would keep playing Ben the majority of the games. I just would. Especially in the playoffs when everybody's fighting for those rebounds, you can't count on Andre for that. He just gives them up. He hasn't improved in that area, and you kind of got to ride Ben and see what happens.
Based on this past weekend, looking at where the Komets are in the standings, they're currently in 8th with 67 points. Florida technically in 9th, 67 points. Evansville 10th with 64. Really, Cincinnati's up there at 5th with 72. So there's a chance the Komets
can get up there. There's all kinds of chances to do stuff.
How confident do you feel that the Komets are going to be a playoff team based on what they did last week against teams that they needed to beat?
Too early to tell. And I'll tell you why.
Well, only 12 games.
I'll tell you why. It has less to do with them and more to do with Florida having 9 straight games at home to end the season.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Evansville or Wheeling is in the middle of playing 6 straight games on the road, and then they finish up with 8 games at home. And Evansville is 5 out of 7 to end up on the road, I think it is.
The Komets are what? They've got 8 out of 12 at home, if my math is correct? This coming
I think so.
Final month of the regular season?
Yeah.
So they kind of have an advantage.
But they haven't done it.
Well,
you say that, and it would on paper and logically, but it hasn't worked that way.
You're right.
You cannot count on that. So, no, I think it's too early to say that they are definitely a playoff team. They got work to do. You
mentioned Schrock's injury, blocking that shot on Sunday. Where is he at physically? And could you give us an update on some of the other guys?
Schrocky's beat up. He's got more than just that. But nothing else has kept him out of the lineup. We'll see if that does. I don't think he's going to practice tomorrow, Tuesday, either. So, that's how serious it is. Dean Ouellette is still dealing with concussion. Christian Ouellette came back Sunday. Let's see. Matt Carter and Jason Dale, they both got groin problems. You don't know. It could be scary if they could get everybody back, but I don't think you can count on getting everybody back. I just don't think that that's going to happen. Because then, when that happens, somebody will get called up like Southorn again or something.
Right.
There'll be some screwy thing that happens,
When you look at this week's schedule, Wednesday at home against Orlando, they got Gwinnett coming in Friday night, Kalamazoo coming in Saturday. So 3 straight home games. but in a tight time frame, and then they travel on Sunday to Kalamazoo, face Colin Chalk, all that good stuff. How critical of a week is this, and what's your prognosis? What's your outlook for this
again,
week
they
in
lost
general?
a home game Saturday. That just adds on to this week. I mean, it really does. You can't keep losing the home games. You got to be able to count on the home games, and when they lose them, it just makes the next week that much more difficult because now you pretty much have to win your 3 home games just to keep pace, knowing what the schedule is on those other teams coming up. So you have to win the 3 home games, and that's unfair probably. But it's like you blew it all this first half of the year, all the first 3 quarters of the year, when you had all these chances to win home games and you blew them. Now you have to have them, period.
Well, if we see the Komets team that we saw, I think, on Friday night, things are in good shape.
Yeah, but then what happened Saturday?
Consistently,
where was that
consistently
team?
inconsistent.
Where was that team Saturday? And then, Sunday, I know they were gassed, but it's like you got 52 shots, but how many scoring chances did you have? And why did you keep trying to beat the guy glove side? I mean, he was not going to get beat glove side. It just wasn't going to happen. They should have known that from last year when they faced him when he was in Orlando.
Toivonen, not exactly a mystery at this point.
No. But it's like, and it wasn't like Toledo's defense was great. I mean, you had some chances. Again, you keep blowing these opportunities, and you're running out of time. You can't afford any more blown opportunities. That's mean. It's harsh. That's the truth. And they got to realize that.
4 points still, and still hanging on to that 8th playoff spot.
That's just it. Hanging on is
hanging
the key
on.
thing.
But it is a very crucial week, and of course we'll recap it next Monday with Blake as we go inside the zone. Alongside Blake, I'm Glenn, and we'll see you then.